Today I want to review film Terminator Genisys, and it is probably, or maybe not even probably, the worst Terminator in the franchise, because he completely changed the sense of Terminator franchise. Why? The main difference is that Sarah Connor is playing a much higher, a more important role than in previous movies, and they completely changed the sense and the sacrifice and the leadership of John Connor, because here we see that Terminator was sent even earlier than in the first Terminator. So in this Terminator Genisys, Terminator was sent when Sarah Connor was 9 years old, and he was protecting her all along. And she's let's say a warrior from the beginning. So from the beginning she knows that there will be war with the machines, and her son will be important. But in this case the plot is so convoluted, and there are so many timelines that we don't even know, for example, who sent the first Terminator to the young 9 years old Sarah Connor, because they just said that it is classified. So it means that they were too lazy to explain something in a better way, more difficult, more believable. And unfortunately, they have chosen Emilia Clarke for this Sarah Connor, and she's younger than Sarah Connor in first Terminator, or she looks younger. And because Emilia Clarke looks, her face is like a face of a child, she looks a little bit cute and a little bit infantile, so she completely cannot be Sarah Connor. Her role is much worse than original Sarah Connor, playing by I forgot the name of the actress, but the original Sarah Connor was better, because we saw the transformation of Sarah Connor, and we also see that Sarah Connor was just a simple waitress, and she wasn't aware of all of this, of war, of Terminators, of the future, of war with the machines, of the Holocaust of human Earth, of atomic bombs killing 3 billion people. So in first Terminator we see that Kyle Reese is introducing Sarah to this grim future, and in the second Terminator we see that she's like a Che Guevara of the 90s. She's like Che Guevara of the 90s, so she's a partisan, she's a guerrilla, she is trained to be agile, with much endurance, strength, and also she's ruthless. So we can also see the transformation of this Sarah Connor between first Terminator and the second Terminator. And here Emilia Clarke is also too short to be believable Sarah Connor. For example, when she hands a shotgun, no one will believe that she is able to shoot the shotgun, because she's too small and too weak to even wield it. And let's say she need to shoot a couple of shells from it. She will just be overwhelmed by this shotgun. So it's completely unbelievable that Emilia Clarke could be a good Sarah Connor, because she's too cute. She looks also a little bit weird, because of her gigantic big eyeballs and her baby-like face. It's really difficult, or even a little bit creepy to watch her. and unfortunately, actor who plays Kyle Reese is, I would say, the worst Kyle Reese we have seen, because original Kyle Reese, played by Michael Biehn, is the best from the first Terminator. Then he appeared briefly in second Terminator. In third Terminator, Rise of the Machines, we have another Kyle Reese. And in or we I think in third we have a little bit of Kyle Reese. I cannot remember, but in Terminator Salvation we had a new Kyle Reese, and here in Terminator Genisys we also have a new Kyle Reese, completely simile actor, without charisma, without anything except being buffed. And even this is not accurate, because we saw that humans were not able, or even soldiers in this future war with the machines weren't able to be buffed, because they didn't have time, they didn't have even resources to build proper gyms, or even have food proper enough to be buffed. And they need to be not buffed, but very endurance friendly and very agility able to just fight with this guerrilla style war. So buffed men were rather Terminators or infiltrator Terminators than humans. And of course, the worst part of this film, besides being convoluted and basically obliterating the first and the second movie, because we are not sure, because we didn't even saw the romance between Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor. So John Connor will not be born. But the worst part, the worst of worst, is that John Connor is some kind of a machine now. Some kind of machine, because some special Terminator uh, conjured with or emerged with original John Connor, and John Connor now serves the purpose of his own or of the Skynet, and he's an evil character. So the Sarah Connor is, I would say, the most important character, but it doesn't have any sense, because we see the future, and in the future, when the Kyle Reese is attacking with John Connor is attacking the facility of the Skynet, John Connor is the leader. John Connor is the leader. They see that the Terminator went through the time machine. They are sending Kyle Reese. So still, John Connor is the most important part. And right now we don't know how he will be born. And this old Terminator, playing by Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Pops, we don't even know his true role, except that he was sent to when the 9 years Sarah Connor was threatened by evil Terminator, and he protected her since then. But it's so convoluted that, for example, Red Letter Media, a YouTube channel famous for movie reviews, did a two separate movies about Terminator Genisys, and one is a parody when they are laughing at complicated timelines of Terminator Genisys, because it's the most complicated and the most convoluted of all Terminators. But because of this idea that Kyle Reese will now be a traitor, some kind of a cyborg, or some kind of connection hybrid person, it all is completely senseless, because the most part of the Terminator movies is that Kyle Reese is the only and one person, one leader who is so important, so knowledgeable, so strong, so mighty that he's able to lead all remaining humanity against the Skynet. And right now we are not sure if Kyle Reese is even important, if he leaves, what will happen with the future. Is Judgment Day stopped? Everything is a little bit too complicated to be reasonable and to have any sense. And unfortunately, I would say that the best part of the Terminator Genisys is Arnold Schwarzenegger. She's not she's not a very good actor, but he is not very good actor, but he's still a good actor, I would say. He's not actor who, for example, deserves Oscars or Grammys or Nebula prizes or some other very important awards, but he's a good actor. And in this part we see in this movie we see that he's the best actor of all of them, because Kyle Reese is for example played by actor who almost always is playing bad characters, and we see from the beginning that when Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese meet Kyle Reese, he will be something is wrong with him. He will be an evil character, and we see this from the beginning, from the first scene when we see Kyle Reese, John Connor, and and all of this that the director and screenwriters decided that Kyle Reese, excuse me, John Connor will be evil is a complete abomination to this series, because in a way uh, Sarah Connor is also unimportant or evil, because she will probably born this John Connor who will become in the future evil. So it's completely out of any sense, this movie. I was very surprised because most of the famous reviewers on YouTube gave it a mediocre or very bad score or reviews, except Angry Joe. Angry Joe gave it 8 out of 10. He said that after first and second Terminator, this is the best part. But most of the reviewers, even on Rotten Tomatoes or on IMDb, agrees that this is probably the worst Terminator. Even Terminator Dark Fate, because Critical Drinker also did a very critical review of Terminator Genisys, and he said that in a way Terminator Genisys is even worse than Dark Fate, because in Dark Fate we have an actress who she was playing original Sarah Connor. Now she's much older, and Terminator Dark Fate resets all series. John Connor is being killed by the Terminator, and then we have another hero. So the movie is also very bad for its own reasons, but it's a reset. It's completely new direction in Terminator franchise. But this Terminator Genisys is so complicated, so many timelines are intertwined between each other that it doesn't have any sense, and the thing that cute Emilia Clarke with baby face was Sarah Connor is completely creepy and out of touch, and the thing that John Connor, the leader and the savior of human race, is now evil, is destroying the whole series. is destroying the sense of the whole series, is destroying even the sacrifice of this Terminator, the Paps, who is protecting Sarah Connor. Because if Sarah Connor would knew and Kyle Reese would knew that they will create that they will create a child who will be completely evil, and this child will be even more powerful than any other Terminators, even the most advanced ones, they would never agree to consume their relationship, and Sarah Connor will be forever without a kid, and without John Connor, the humanity would not survive. So it's like destroying the human race, and all facts and all episodes and all struggles between humans and the machines. So it's really funny to see, for example, a parody of Red Letter Media of how Terminator Genisys works, but this is, I think, by far the worst Terminator we have ever had. Even Dark Fate, which I will review in the future, is a very bad movie, but it's not an abomination. And Terminator Genisys is an abomination to the struggle of Sarah Connor, to the first and the second movie, because this movie Genisys is basically erasing completely the first and the second movie, completely. And it is an abomination to the Kyle Reese from the first Terminator, his struggle with PTSD, with the future war, almost without any hope. Here we have like almost like an adventure, silly, goofy movie with lines, for example, come with me if you want to live, spit out by cute Emilia Clarke as Sarah Connor. It is completely out of sense, because in the first movie, the first Terminator, when this line was said by Kyle Reese, we see that Terminator was in a bar full of humans, young humans, dancing with each other, and he was murdering everybody. He was murdering everybody just to kill Sarah Connor and accomplish his mission. And Kyle Reese was waiting, because he didn't know what the Terminator is, who is the Terminator. He was an infiltration unit. And when he was ready, he pulled out his shotgun and shoot about, I think, 3, 4, 5 shots at him. And he's protecting and covering over Sarah Connor and saying with rush, with this grim face, "Come with me if you want to live." And Sarah Connor is completely shocked, because this Terminator is standing up after being shot many times from the shotgun. So we see that in first Terminator, we see that Terminators are cruel machines who are almost unstoppable. They are almost unstoppable. So you cannot just put a Medicore a little bit silly, a little bit goofy, a little bit out of any sense, dumb movie. And the problem is that first and second Terminator, they were almost humorless. There were almost no humor. For example, when the Terminator in second part, the Arnold Schwarzenegger as good Terminator, smiled, it was a little bit strange, a little bit goofy, and everybody knows that this is this is silly, yeah. That he's smiling because this is silly. That Terminators as a machines should smile. But the importance was that the war with the machines was cruel, was grim as fuck, was cruel when we see the scenes from the first, especially Terminator of the Future War, women being slaughtered, killed, evaporated. The humans need to fight only when there was full dark, and they were almost always losing. Only this the character of Kyle Reese was the only thing which bind them together. And here we see that the humor is completely out of sense, and these lines, these lines, they this movie is like made for the fans, but the fans will be pissed at this movie because it evaporates, it destroys everything which the best Terminators movies did. So the first Terminator and the second Terminator, they were completely butchered. They are completely without any sense right now after Terminator Genisys. Okay, let's finish this ramble. Let me know in the comments what do you think about Terminator Genisys, and can we say anything positive about this movie, because it had mediocre special effects. I wouldn't call them good effects. I wouldn't call them. They were okay. They were okay, but I wouldn't call them even good special effects. Let me know in the comments what do you think about this specific movie.